Hey everybody, it's RJ Stevenson. How you doing? So glad to see you again. Hey, we've had a break for a little while, but we're back on with the revival here at New St. Paul. But this is a different revival. Yeah, we made some transitions, and this is a different revival. Still in revival. We took the last couple of weeks off. Listen, we did revival for 10 straight weeks. Can you believe that? Man, God was really blessed us during that time. And he put another burden on my heart to do another revival. And this time, the subject matter is a little bit different. This time, the revival is a revival of justice. Yeah, a revival of justice. And I know you're like, RJ, why justice? Why do you need to do a revival of justice? Well, based on how things are happening around us in our culture and in our world, it just seems like justice is the thing that we need most. It seems like justice has become a word that we don't have a good definition for even anymore. So the revival of justice will be again at 9 a.m. for morning glory prayer intercession. We got back kicking this morning, man. What a glorious time we had together. And then at 12 noon, we'll have Bible studies. We'll have special interviews like the one we have today. And at 7 p.m., we'll have a mixture of interviews, worship services, think tanks, forums, discussions, all about justice. Because I believe that justice is something that is definitely needed and desired in our world. So if there's an opportunity for me to share with you about what justice is and what justice does in our world, I want to be at the forefront of pushing that. Listen, if you're watching by way of New St. Paul, by the Facebook page or YouTube page, I want to let you know that you have a different opportunity to interact with us. You can put down your comments down in the bottom in your comment section, just like this. And you will see you'll see me be able to pull your comments up on the page as we go along, just like this. Yep, I'll be able to post your comments on the page live as long as you're watching from the New St. Paul AME Church of Tampa, Florida, a Facebook page or YouTube channel. I want to get started because I'm excited about what's happening today. I got a very special guest that's going to join us, and I got some news and updates to tell you. Let's pray for a moment. God, you're always blowing our minds about how you can choose us, about how you choose us to do awesome things for awesome opportunities. Lord, we prayed earlier today that this was the day that you've made, and we're going to rejoice and be glad. And God, it's noontime. And man, we're rejoicing as we've been almost halfway through our day. We're rejoicing because of the potential that you still have left to make this day one of the first days of our best days. And God, because of that, we thank you and give you praise. Thank you for all that are watching. Let them be inspired about what they'll experience today. In Jesus' name, I pray, amen. Listen, I'm always excited, but I'm super excited about a couple of things. I want to give you all a couple of updates about what's happening here at New St. Paul. Behind me, I know y'all like, what is some things? Behind me, these are aeroponic tower gardens. And I want to share with you that on this Sunday, this is happening. Let me show it to you. This Sunday, this. And I'm so happy to be able to share that with you. This Sunday, we're kicking off our community garden project here at New St. Paul. There's another opportunity that we have, and I'm excited about it. Another other opportunity that we have is for us as a church. Is just crazy. As a church, we are able to be a part of another movie premiere, and that's what we're talking about today. Thank you, Tiff. We're talking about another movie premiere. Is it better now? I hope it's better. We're talking about another movie premiere, and I'm pleased to be able to have the writer and producer of this movie talking with us today. His name is Pastor Chad Lawson Cooper. He is the writer and producer of this tremendous movie opportunity. And I want to get an opportunity to share it with you, because this is another one of those movies that the Lord has dropped into the plate of New St. Paul. And we're able here at New St. Paul to use this movie as a fundraiser, just like we did the Revival movie a couple of weeks back. We're able to show this movie. You're able to get your tickets online, and that is going to help push forward the ministry that we do here at New St. Paul AME Church. And this movie is right on time. I did a Zoom call, a Zoom chat about it the other day. If you saw that last week, this movie is called Justice on Trial. This movie is called Justice on Trial. And I want to tell you what it's about, but I'd rather show you what it's about. And I'm going to do that right now. All right. Give me 1 second.
After 400 years of slavery, Jim Crow, segregation, African Americans are suing the U.S. Department of Justice for reparations and damages.
Let's deliberate these facts. Now, the Justice Department is against African Americans.
The amount could be in the several trillions of dollars.
The United States does not look kindly upon individuals who do such acts.
And as I sat here, I realized he is Trayvon Martin, and Trayvon Martin is him.
Yes, Your Honor. I'd like to bring in Alita Ross, a.k.a. Harriet Tubman.
They're supposed to be iconic time travel witnesses.
Over the past 400 years of denying people a fair hearing.
Unless the government agrees to be sued, it can't be. And guess what? The government does not agree. So case closed.
So that was the trailer for the movie Justice on Trial. And over the next couple of weeks, again, this movie, it premieres on the 4th of July, Saturday, July 4th. And until we get to that day, man, we're going to have so many conversations about justice in our world. We're going to have conversations with people from all over the place with different perspectives. I got a few guests that I'm just excited. I'm excited about everybody, but there's a couple of them that I'm just overwhelmed and excited about because they have a very special place in my life in terms of my mentoring process and maturity. And I'm excited about all that. Listen, you saw a couple of people in the movie that you should recognize. One is Dorian Wilson. He plays the professor on the Parkers. Remember Parkers with Monique, the Parkers TV show. He's up there again. He's one of the stars of this movie, as well as Todd Bridges. Remember Todd Bridges from Different Strokes? Yeah. So Todd Bridges and Dorian Wilson are two of the actors in this movie, and we'll be able to interview them just like we did Mr. Harry Lennox when we did the revival movie. We'll be interviewing those two individuals and talking about what their experience was like and why this movie was important for them. The movie covers it's got three intricate characters in the story of justice in America as it regards to the African American experience. It talks about the life and legacy of Harriet Tubman. It talks about the life and story of Emmett Till. It talks about the life and story of Medgar Evers. And man, those are three iconic individuals that did a lot in terms of the story of justice for the African American community. But what I'm realizing is it's not February, and a lot of times the real true nitty gritty of those stories often gets lost in the sauce based on, we talk about very familiar and common voices and personalities during Black History Month. But this time we're going to lift up a young man by the name of Emmett Till, Harriet Tubman, that we all know as Moses from the Underground Railroad, and Medgar Evers. These icons will be lifted up in the midst of this movie as we talk about justice on trial. Now, the interesting thing is this movie is called just that, Justice on Trial. Can you imagine? It is the Black people of the United States of America versus the Justice Department. And the whole concept is around reparations. Are Black people owed anything for the 400 years that we've been in this country and the way that we've been treated? How can we have justice in this country? That's what this movie is about. And I'm excited about it because it provides us an opportunity to, one, break down the concept of reparations, because we talk about that a lot. We hear about it on the news. We hear about it in local communities. We don't often have an in-depth conversation about what that means and how that even works out. So I'm excited about this conversation about justice, and I'm excited about the revival of justice because it's going to give us an opportunity to bring some awesome conversation to the forefront. We're going to be talking about with some social justice leaders from around the country, and we're going to have some great in-depth conversation about what justice means to us as a society and a culture, what justice means to our generations, and who are the new voices that are arising, who are the new voices around this country who are talking about this justice narrative and how this narrative plays out. Now, listen, again, I'm going to share with you how it is that you can get your hands on this movie, okay? But before I do that, I want to let you know, if your church and your pastor is interested in a fundraiser that will cause your church community to grow, a fundraiser that will cause your church community to reach out into the fight of justice, this is the opportunity for you. I'm not a person that is selfish when I get opportunities, and I want to make this available for everybody everywhere. I want to make this that movie that everybody is able to sit down with and share and have provoking and thought-provoking conversations in our congregations, in our households, in our neighborhoods, in our communities, so that we can understand what justice is, so we can understand why is it that we're marching, so we can even talk about why are we still marching for some of the same issues and some of the same reasons. When do we get an opportunity to really have justice and have that American dream that we're often talked about? When do we get to do that? And I think that this movie gives us a tremendous opportunity to have that conversation in the midst of us. Listen, I am so blessed. We are so blessed to have with us today a tremendous guest that I want to share with you right now. This is the writer and producer of the movie. This is Dr. Chad Lawson Cooper. Thank you so much for joining us today for this powerful conversation. I'm just excited about having you with us.
Bless you, Pastor. It's a blessing to be with you and all the good work that you're doing.
Thank you so much. Listen, here's another movie that you've decided to release to the church and allow the church to get an opportunity to get in on another impactful conversation, especially during these days and times, justice on trial. I mean, the title of the movie is just provoking in itself. And for you to take the audacity to talk about these three stories of Harriet Tubman, Emmett Till, and Medgar Evers, man, I'm excited about it. What was it that caused you to even want to undertake some kind of this kind of tremendous experience?
Well, that's a great question, Pastor, because for 10 years prior to, I would even say a little bit longer than 10 years, probably 13 to 14 years prior to going into the social justice type genre of art and film, whether it be through theater and film. I did strictly just gospel church productions, church mess and family mess. And so what changed my whole trajectory was the day that Philando Castile in Minnesota was murdered. And I happened to be in DC working on Church Mess 2, I think. And I walked into Cracker Barrel and happened to look at my phone, and I saw the whole video. And I sat there in the midst of, I was the only black person in there. And I sat there and cried like a baby. I was like, wow, this could be me. This could be my son. This could be my daughter in the car with him. This could be, it disturbed me so much. And my spirit immediately was like, you got to do something. You got to do something. Well, what can I do? I'm not I don't have a background in marching and with a bullhorn and all of that kind of stuff. So it's like, what can I do? And the Lord spoke to me and he said, take it through the theater and take it to this movie screen. Use your art to express your activism. And so that's how Justice on Trial, there was a play, it's called Black Lives Matter 2, TOO, Justice on Trial. And the movie is Justice on Trial. So that's how it was birthed. And I'm, I have a lifelong commitment to social justice now, because in that it's still a gospel message, because it's the truth. And we're reaching not just church folks, but I think we're reaching the kingdom now. This systemic racism, it's a painful thing. My kids, they don't even understand the synergy or the energy behind it, but it's painful, and they don't even know why, because it's a spiritual thing.
Well, now you said that you have a church background. You pastor. What church do you pastor?
If you see somebody moving in the background, I'm having some painting done at the house.
Oh man, don't worry about it. Glad to have you here.
I graduated from Springfield College in Illinois, but I also went to FAMU. And when I finished at FAMU, I started pastoring in Tallahassee.
Wow. What church?
United Gospel Fellowship. We used to call it UGF.
Wow. We got some Tallahassee folks watching right now. So.
All right.
Yeah.
But that's been 20 years ago.
Gotcha.
But we were a small church by the Copy Corner on South Adams, and but a very powerful church. And so I pastored in Tallahassee for 5 years. Then I moved to Miami, where we pastored in Opelika, and We also pastored in. I'm having a senior moment, Pastor.
Oh Lord, see, Carlos ain't even up here to talk about senior moments.
Right. But we pastored also. I would just say you could say the Miami Lakes area.
Got you. Okay.
And so the name of that church was a wealthy place where on occasions I would act as a visiting professor at Florida Memorial College, and that's where my theater career started.
Okay.
Yeah, at Florida Memorial College. Although when I taught there, it was religion, of course. Dr. Thomas was the chair, and you probably remember Matt King Carter.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Mrs. Carter. She was a great. His wife was a great friend and instrument in pushing me into the theater industry.
So I got one of my viewers, Tiffany. She giving you shout outs because she a fan of you, Rattler, and now she talking from Miami and all that kind of stuff. So you got some fans up here today. Listen, tell me why the voice of the church is so important as we talk through this concept of justice, definitely with today's social question.
Well, the voice of the church has always been the consonant in civil rights. It's been that one place where Black people, in particularly, would gather and hear the voice of reason. The civil rights movement wouldn't have been anything without the church. And so that was a meeting place. And it wasn't just one particular denomination. That there were several denominations that would gather together. That was the one thing that it didn't matter if you were AME, if you were CME, if you were Baptist, a Church of God in Christ, that we would all come together, AME Zion, and take this stand. Martin Luther King's last public speech was at Mason's Temple. And by the way, if I were to go by denomination, I am Church of God in Christ.
Okay.
Not denominational, but I grew up missionary Baptist.
Oh Lord, you
call myself Baptist Costal.
Yes, sir. You mixed up in that, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, but that was at the Church of God in Christ. But he was a Baptist minister. The AME Church has always been a staple in civil rights and social justice. AME Zion Church, that's Harriet Tubman's home church. Mm-hmm. So it's so many denominations. So it's the voice, the pastors, the leaders have been the voice of reason. Let me look who led the civil rights movement. It was preachers, pastors. So I think that, at one point we moved to somewhat of a prosperity gospel, and we forgot about that civil rights hadn't gone anywhere.
Yeah.
We were teased with a little I like to call it a little sweet and low in the drink, but it wasn't enough to really ignite change to the level that what we're seeing right now. And so the voice of the church had stopped really talking about social justice, and we went to 2 steps to get the husband you want, 3 steps to get the Mercedes you want, and so we forgot about the things that we're dealing with now. So what has happened is we see that racism hasn't gone anywhere. It's never stopped. It's just being recorded. So the fact that it's being recorded, thank God, because it's bringing not just the Black church to stand up for this issue, but it's bringing all types of races, all types of people from different backgrounds that are tired, and they see that this is an injustice that Black people have endured for many, many years. You go back to Emmett Till. no slight on Trayvon Martin, but what they did to Emmett Till, what they did to Trayvon Martin was no comparison.
Yeah.
They've been doing it to us a long time, and to see in 2020 a white man put his knee on a black man's neck and literally murder him in front of millions of people watching, that was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back.
Yeah.
And so now, look what that has done. But now the fascinating thing, preacher, is that you see that it hasn't stopped the police from still being bullies with cops. They just shot another guy in Atlanta.
Yeah. Y'all were in a whole uproar the other night. Let me ask you this: based on the social culture right now, what do you think? How do you think we find value in a movie called Justice on Trial? And then after you answer that question, I want to go back and replay the trailer again. How do we find value right now in a movie called Justice on Trial?
Well, that's easy. This movie in particularly stemmed from my off-Broadway play, Justice on Trial, but it was filmed, months before. But you would think that we just filmed it last week.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you've seen the version that we premiered in AMC theaters, but we had actually added 30 more minutes to this movie, and what we added to it deals with the coronavirus. It deals with the protesting.
Yeah.
It deals with, we even got George Floyd in it. It's just that up to date. So this movie, though, is a very educational walk through history. It teaches us exactly what reparations is, why reparations, and how it can be distributed, and how it can be helpful in our community. And then it deals with systemic racism issues. It deals with police brutality. It deals with, and some would say, well, what about black on black crime? It deals with the difference between black on black crime. There's a difference between black on black crime, just like there is white on white crime. And I mean, just be real. Me and you can see each other all day and say, and I'm just being real now, and not saying that we do this, but I might, a term of endearment.
Yeah.
We all have brothers and stuff that we, that's our childhood friends. What's up, my nigga?
Yeah.
And that's a term of endearment. But I don't care how close you are to a white person.
They're not.
There's no way in the world a white person is gonna be able to say, "What's up, my nigga?"
Yeah.
and we not fight.
Yeah.
So, but this movie deals with all of that. So you get an educational experience. We go back in time and show you Emmett Till's struggle, what he went through, Medgar Evers' struggle, how he was shot down in a driveway in front of his wife and children, but he didn't die there. It shows him going into the hospital and lying there for 6 hours, bleeding to death, and the doctor saying, "Get this Negro out of here. We're not gonna put a white man's blood in a black man's body." It gives you those historical facts, Harriet Tubman's historical facts, and then the jury deliberation is just real.
It's strong.
The white lady that's on the jury, the stout white lady. When they start breaking down the facts of what all black people have invented and contributed to America, and not only to America, to the world. So when one of the black ladies on the jury say, and after we'd have done all of that, they tell us to get on the boat and go back to Africa. And the white lady say, "Well, honey, if there's a boat, you need to be the first one on it."
Yeah.
So it's that
you should get whooped in that room too.
Yeah.
Let's roll the clip. Let's roll the trailer and get into some more in-depth conversation about the movie. We'll be right back.
Awesome.
All right. After
So I just found out that when the way I played it, I was muted. I'm gonna run it back again, okay?
Okay, all right. Now, do you have the other trailer though? The one that's updated for July 4th?
Let me no, can you send it to me right quick? I'll put it right on.
Yeah, okay, let me do that. Hold on.
All right. So he's gonna give me the other trailer that has the updated dates on it, and we'll get that on. Listen, if you have after we finish watching the trailer the next time, if you have any questions, feel free to upload your questions in the comments. I'm definitely going to have him share with you how we can make this opportunity to premiere the movie available for all churches everywhere. It's really simple. All your pastor has to do is join us on a series of meetings. We meet about twice a week with pastors all over the country who are involved with this push to get this movie about justice on trial out. And I'll definitely make that information available to you, how your church and ministry can be involved and can benefit from this movie. I think it's an awesome thing that the church, again, is given an opportunity to be at the core, at the center of the conversation, pushing the conversation about justice. Because for us in our communities, it had always been the church. The church used to be the place where the Black community gathered together to, one, give worship to God, but two, war against injustices in our society. It was the church that caused us to be able to go down on our knees and pray to God that he would do something awesome in our lives. It was the church that caused us to be able to rally together, to vote and be able to elect individuals to represent us in our communities. It was the church. It was the church folks outside at Souls to the Polls, making certain that our brothers and sisters in the community were aware of what was going on in our city and society. And it was the voice of the pastor that spoke truth to power. Is the voice of the pastor in our communities, that to remember that we as the church, we as a body of believers, have a responsibility to our community, to uplift God in our communities and be his voice and example for the people. Talk about, if you don't mind, I've had a couple of people ask about the opportunity for pastors to get involved as I pull up this trailer. Talk about what it is that we can do as pastors to get involved with this movie. How do we support it? How do we push it? Let's talk about that for a moment.
Absolutely. Well, we're asking, all the pastors to get a copy of the trailer, of course, the one I just sent you, and post it on their social media. Encourage the pastors to do their own video, encouraging the members to get involved. Families, it's a good movie that families can sit down together and watch. It's going to educate children as well. And also, by getting involved, we're also donating 20% back of, just say you have 100 members to watch the movie. We're going to donate 20% back to the church from whatever amount that you have actually purchased the pay-per-view for the movie. So it's a good fundraiser. So if you have 1,000 people, the movie is discounted for churches and nonprofit organizations for $14.95. You get a code. Just say the name of your church is Gospel Temple Zion. We'll give you a code, GT Zion, and that's how it's tracked to see how many people that put your code in, and your pay-per-view will be all accounted for. We have a professional, an accountant that handles all of that, and so it's a good fundraiser for you. At the same time, you're really educating your members, and they're seeing quality stuff that we've never seen before. I've never seen and I'm not saying this because I'm the writer and creator of the movie. I'm my worst critic.
You got to be biased, man. You got to be biased.
I'm my worst critic, but the movie is awesome. It really is. It's like, wow, this is different. It's never been done like this before, and so we would definitely love to have as many pastors and churches that are partnering with us. I know Pastor RJ, you're partnering with us. Many of the AME Zion churches are partnering with us. Bishop Rudolph McKissick, Leofric Thomas out of Jacksonville, Bishop Walker with Full Gospel Baptist, he's partnering with us. Bishop Noel Jones, Bishop Kevin Adams, just to name a few. I mean, it's so many to name that are partnering with us, because we all want this message to go forth, because it's something we can be proud of as Black people that's made this film. And I'm the executive producer, the writer, creator, but you have Harry Lennox, who is a executive producer, Vanzel Burke, who is also a Fam Ewan and executive producer as well. And you in the movie, exceptional actors, Blacks and whites coming together and actually makes this movie what it is. So we're extremely proud of the message that I think July 4th can bring to our community as a people.
Listen, I want to get you connected to this opportunity. For more information about how your church and your ministry can get connected to it, I want you to send an email directly to me at admin@newstpaul.org, and I will personally make sure that you get connected to the opportunity. I want your church and ministry to be blessed. Listen, I'm gonna go back to the trailer again, and we'll put the trailer up, and we'll go from there. Okay?
All right.
Slavery gave America a fear of Black people and a taste for violent punishment.
I was beaten, shot.
African Americans are suing the United States government for reparations.
You are clearly one eyelash away being held in contempt. Do you understand me?
Alicia Robinson Cooper as Harriet Tubman, Chad Cooper II as Emmett Till, Lane Harper as Medgar Evers.
We are asking for $6.4 trillion.
Just get everything cleaned up and get this Negro the hell out of here.
I don't see any reason why we should be given $6 trillion for something that happened 200 years ago.
First of all, it didn't happen 200 years ago. It started 200 years ago.
Unless the government agrees to be sued, it can't be. And guess what? The government does not agree. So case closed.
Streaming online July 4th at www.justiceontrialthemovie.com. Also available on Vimeo and Amazon Prime.
Man, listen, when I tell you, when you go back and watch this movie and you hear the interaction between that woman and that young Black girl, you know somebody finna get whooped in that conversation.
No, that's right.
Tell me something. What was it like pulling together a cast of individuals to cover a movie like this? Because I can imagine that at certain moments of even filming the movie, the tension of the people in the room was probably getting sort of hot, because I can imagine them getting into character and all that kind of stuff. And I can imagine at the end of some of these scenes, they were walking around looking at each other real crazy. Because I know if I was in the room with that, as you say, stout white woman, after she said all the craziness she said, I would have forgot her name and been trying to get at her. What was it like going through the filming and the casting of the movie?
Well, some of the cast came from like the stout white woman. She was with me in the beginning of the off-Broadway play.
Wow. Okay.
So she toured with me. When I wrote it, I had not actually wrote the jury part until we actually casted it. And so I took 4 weeks and I wrote the jury part based on the characters that I casted.
Gotcha.
So with her voice and everything, and believe it or not, she's never lived in the South.
Wow.
She sounds like she's from Alabama.
Sounds like a Southern white woman.
She does. So her voice was like perfect for that. So so many of them, I would say 50% came from the off-Broadway production, and then the other percent, they're professional actors, so they they were able to pull it off without a hitch. That's the art of it.
Yeah.
It was a blessing to be able to get Todd Bridges to be in it.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he did a wonderful job. The white guy that played the lead civil rights attorney, believe it or not, he'd never acted before.
What?
70 years old.
Wow.
I think
he did a phenomenal job.
Definitely one of the breakout stars.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's at 70 years old, he killed that part.
He did. Absolutely.
And yeah.
I want to show the clip from I don't want to give people too much of the movie, but I do want to show the clip from the deliberation, because it's going to show them what this tension is like that we keep talking about. Here's another clip from the movie, Justice on Trial.
Let's do it.
Okay, first of all, that lady lied on that little boy. She's the criminal. Get your facts straight.
Look, we have a criminal justice system that is set up that does not favor all in this country. I mean, and it still prevails today. You can look back in history, and there are so many incidents and injustice towards African Americans.
Remember Tulsa, Oklahoma? The area of town called Greenwood, where blacks had their own stores and their own shops, their own banks. They even had their own hospitals. I wonder, do they remember that town was destroyed over a lie by one white woman? I mean, people were bombed and shot and set on fire. I wonder, do they remember? Little kids, little children killed, and their dreams all killed for one white woman's lie. I wonder, do they remember? I wonder, do they remember? Yes, indeed.
Look at Hum. It says that black lives don't matter. Well, that's easy to say black lives don't matter when you use black lives to harvest your crops, to use manual labor to build your buildings, to work in the coal mines, to work on the railroads. I mean, that's crazy to think that we.
Man, listen, that's a heated conversation there. Tell me, how did you get through it?
When I wrote it, I wrote this. I was in exile in Wilmington, Delaware for 8 months.
Wow!
And basically, I stayed in a small room in Wilmington, Delaware, in one of my friend's basements, and I wrote it. I went through a lot of emotions. I cried when I was writing it. I lived every character through the pen as I was writing it. So it was difficult, but necessary.
Difficult but necessary. Let me ask you this question. When we talk about this concept of reparations, the dollar amount is always on the table. How did you get to 6.5? What do you say, $6.5 trillion?
6.4.
6.4.
Those were my calculations. I'm no mathematician by any means. I do have a nephew that is. He's a PhD at Howard, but he gave me no help. So
those are some serious. Those numbers imply some serious disparities in our communities. How did you come up with those calculations to get to 6.4? Because I know that what was it? Bob Johnson has recently mentioned a number that was sort of close to that. How did you get to those numbers?
Well, I just did a formula for all of the many years of slavery, and what wage and labors would be at a minimum wage, and that's how I came up with it. And I was pleased to see that right after I did, article came out, and they gauged it around the same thing, 6.2 to up to $51 trillion. So I was like, well, at least I'm in the ballpark.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. I know, based on how things go, we may see this conversation continue to happen, but it all has to do with this. There's been a lot of tension. There's been rioting and looting. Haven't seen this much rioting and looting probably since Rodney King, around that time period.
Yeah, exactly.
I just happen to remember the Rodney King and Reginald Denny and all that kind of stuff going on. Where are we as a community from your perspective, as it regards to maintaining our tension? I think that as we protest, as we see Black Lives Matter and other groups leading the protest, I think one of the things that we have not done well is to maintain the tension so that we can continue towards movement to getting some things done. From your perspective, how does Justice on Trial help us to maintain that tension? How does it help us to keep this story in front of us so that the people of our community can continue pushing towards that effort?
Well, with film have the power to change the whole culture, and with a film, you can keep watching it over and over. It's a reminder, especially something that's feeding your spirit. This is something that can keep you motivated, keep you informed, and you see, as I said, you've seen the private link, and you watched it more than once. So
yeah, you gotta watch it more than once.
Yeah. With a film like that, like this rather, it's even myself, when I watch it, I'm like, dang, man, this is it's just good stuff.
Yeah,
and it motivates me. So I think we have to continue to create films like this. I'm working on another one after this one for next year. That's gonna be, and I'll talk to you about that off camera.
Okay.
That's gonna be like, it's gonna be crazy. It's like nobody ever would even have the audacity to do this film. Gotcha. So and I know you're familiar with the Tallahassee area. Mm-hmm. I grew up, I'm a New Yorker now. I live in New York, downtown Brooklyn, but I grew up in Quincy, Florida.
Wow, okay.
And
right down here in Quincy, huh?
Right down here in Quincy. And so I've always dreamed of doing what I do, and just to let those young people know you can do and become whatever you dream yourself being. They moved the Confederate statue from the Gaston County Courthouse in Quincy. Whoever would have thought in a million years that would happen? There is a new synergy that's going across this country, and I just don't think it's going to stop until change happens. I think this is the time of reparations, and if we were to receive reparations, see, we've inherited generational poverty. So just the effects of poverty alone can cause mental health issues. Poverty make you crazy.
Yeah.
And I mean, and I tell folks in a minute, especially when I was broke, I said, if you really want to see me crazy, let me not have no money.
Yes, sir. Like a resource to bring out the real in anybody.
Yeah, yeah. And so we've inherited as a people poverty, while white people, through no work of their own, that culture inherited wealth. So it's easy to call people lazy or brush them off as being insignificant when you have the money that's from the fruits of their ancestors' labor. And so it's a problem that needs to be corrected. I can apologize to you. I can bump into your car and dent it and apologize to you all day long. But if I don't fix that dent, the apology means nothing. And so that's what reparations is.
So,
Reparations.
so based on that, let me ask you this question. And this is the question I want to ask everybody in this series as we walk through the revival up to the movie.
Mm-hmm.
When we're afforded reparations, what is it that you think we should focus on repairing?
I think we should focus on repairing our educational system. And not everybody is meant to go to a 4-year university. So you don't have to go to a 4-year university to be educated, but you do need to know a trade or something. Mm-hmm. I think we should be educated on how to manage money. If we've never been taught how to manage money, you're not going to keep any money. You're just going to lose it. So I think that needs to be instituted. I think a revitalization of our neighborhoods needs to strong consideration. I think land. A lot of white people inherited land they didn't do anything for.
Nothing.
We were promised land. Yeah. So we need land. Healthcare. We need healthcare. Top-notch healthcare. And so and then I don't think there's a problem with the actual money that's owed. So I see somebody say, yep, definitely education. And then and opportunities. Fair. We're not asking for handouts or a pity party. We're just asking for equality. Treat me just as equal as you treat anybody else. And it just amazes me that blacks single-handedly built this country with free labor, but we're the most disrespected race in the country. It baffles me.
We're disrespected until they need us to ingest some cash back into the economy like they did with the stimulus check. They ain't disrespecting us when we go to their stores and buy. That's why they were specific about allowing certain areas in the economic systems of our cities to be open before others, because they put us back out here like some test dummies, some lab rats to see what's corona over by ingesting economic growth from our communities, but we didn't have the discipline or the education to keep that money in our communities. We went back out to the folks getting our nails done, getting our hair done, buying all these products and all that kind of stuff. And it did not stimulate growth in our own economies like we could have if we had a different kind of education. You've ingested an opportunity for financial growth in our churches. Tell us again how we can link churches up with this opportunity to premiere this movie so that they can use this as a way to stimulate funding and economic growth in their local churches.
Absolutely. But the first thing is to email you.
Please email me. Email me.
Email Pastor RJ. We will come up with a custom code. So when your parishioners, family, and friends visit justiceontrialthemovie.com, and then you go to purchase movie, which you're basically purchasing an on-demand showing of the movie that will be available on July the 4th. Now, if you do it now, it's $14.95. If you do it on July the 4th, it's the whole amount of $19.95. So you want to pre-order it and have them put your code in, and you get 20% back from those that have put your code in. That's how we track it. And that's a great fundraiser for the ministry. And so Pastor RJ can get you all of that information, get you signed up with us. We'll get you the trailer so that you can properly push it, the flyer with instructions on how to do it. And let's make July 4th a great day. And I would like to add to something you just said, and this is just me, Pastor RJ.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that segregation was actually better for the Black community. If you take, for instance, Black Wall Street, the clip that you just showed, they were doing so good. And the whites could not stand it. That one white woman lied. They used that as an excuse.
I was in a conversation in Conway, Arkansas, at the University of Central Arkansas back in 2017, asking the question, was segregation better for the Black community? Because in those days, we had our own, we didn't have the same level of quality that they had on the other side of the tracks. But for what we had, it was ours. We knew it was ours, and nobody could take it away from us. So I've heard a lot of conversations about segregation having been the best institution for the African American community, and it's a pretty good, a pretty strong conversation. Now that regentrification is happening in our communities, you really don't know where the Black community is anymore. Now, what has happened in a lot of ways, the Black community where we used to know it is now owned by white people. White people own the land. White people come in and do auctions to get Big Mama's old house that the young folks didn't want no more. They don't live in that city no more. They don't care about the land, and they allow anybody and everybody to come in and buy it. And it's very difficult to find a true historic African American community. But even outside of that, what happened to the village? Our communities and our folks was always raised on the village concept that Big Mama down the street that ain't even related to me can grab me by my collar. Big Mama can tell my parents what I did, and I might get a whipping on the corner from Big Mama, but when I get home, my mom and daddy is going to reinforce what Big Mama said because we were a community. I'm hoping that some of these conversations can come up. I'm hoping that we can get an interview with Dorian Wilson. I'm hoping we can get an interview with Todd Bridges. Man, I want this to be a momentous occasion on July the 4th, because a lot of us are realizing that July the 4th really ain't our Independence Day.
Exactly. That's the whole purpose of doing this movie on July the 4th, is to in direct defiance to that. In fact, with Dorian and Todd and I and Harry Lennox are doing an interview today on blackfilm.com.
Okay.
And so I can certainly set that up so we can come on your live and would be happy to have this discussion.
Look, you have blessed us so much. Thank you again for your time and taking out of your busy schedule to be available to help us push this. Look, we're going to make this movie one of the best blockbusters of the year. And we're going to do it because you're allowing us as a community and as a church to be a part of it. Thank you so much for your time. Hey, everybody. This is Pastor RJ. We're back on the revival again. This is the revival of justice. Hey, I believe justice is going to happen. And I believe it's going to happen now. We look forward to you all. Go to send me the email if you're interested in your church participating in the fundraiser. Go to justice.com, justiceondemand.com. It's just on trial.
Yeah, Justice on Trial.
Go to justiceontrial.com. I'll make that revision, and then you'll be able to get 20%.
Justiceontrial.themovie.com.
Okay, justiceontrial.themovie.com. We'll get our flyers and all that kind of stuff up and ready for people. Look, everybody, this has been Pastor Dr. Chad Lawson Cooper, the writer, producer, director, extraordinary of Justice on Trial, the movie. This is his brainchild, and he's allowing us as a community to come behind him and support it. Look, tell everybody, share this out, share this with your pastors just in case they don't believe that the opportunity exists. Hit me in my email so I can get your pastors and your churches connected to this tremendous opportunity. Let's make this July 4th a July 4th that they'll never forget. We'll see y'all next time. God bless.
Peace out. All right.